The crystal chandelier over my dining table caught the late August sunlight, scattering prisms across faces I thought I knew. I sat at the head of the table, the same table where Catherine and I had hosted countless dinners before cancer took her, and watched my new family eat. Sophia moved around the table with that glow pregnant women get, her hand resting on the curve of her belly at 32 weeks. My wife. Young enough to make me feel alive again at 57, old enough to understand grief, or so I'd believed when we married 4 years ago. More wine, honey? She refilled my glass before I could answer, her fingers brushing mine. The headache that had plagued me for 3 months pulsed behind my eyes like a second heartbeat. Across from me, my daughter Beth sat beside her husband Daniel. At 34, she was Catherine's ghost in every gesture, the way she tilted her head when listening, the precise way she cut her food. Daniel had been my VP at Morrison Properties for 3 years now, capable, ambitious, the son I'd never had. You okay, Dad? Beth's therapist instincts never missed anything. You look pale. I'm fine, sweetheart. I forced a smile, but even that hurt. Just tired. You've been tired a lot lately. Sophia's concern creased her forehead. She pulled a small amber bottle from her pocket, shook out 2 capsules. Your vitamins. You forgot them this morning. The pills had the Morrison Properties Wellness Program logo on the label. I'd been taking them for months now. Sophia insisted, said they'd help with stress, with the exhaustion that came from running an $18 million real estate empire. I swallowed them with water. They tasted faintly bitter, but vitamins often did. Oh, Sophia's face lit up. I almost forgot, Will. The ultrasound appointment is tomorrow at 10. You'll come with me, won't you? I really want you there. Of course, I said. I wouldn't miss it. Miss. She beamed, squeezing my shoulder as she passed. Daniel smiled across the table. That's great, Dad, he said. Big moment, finding out if it's a boy or girl. We'll find out together. Sophia's eyes found mine, warm and loving and perfect. The conversation shifted. Beth talked about a new client at her therapy practice. Couldn't share details, but the case was challenging. Daniel mentioned the Mount Pleasant development, permits finally approved, groundbreaking in June. Sophia laughed at something, her hand finding mine across the table. I looked at them, my family gathered around my table, and felt something I hadn't felt since Catherine died, gratitude. Except Daniel's hand lingered on Sophia's shoulder when he passed her the bread basket, just a second too long. Except Sophia's phone buzzed 3 times during dinner, and each time she turned it face down without looking. Except when I mentioned a hotel charge on the company card last month, Wentworth Mansion, $847. Daniel's face went very still before he said, Client dinner, the Harpers from Atlanta. I didn't remember us courting the Harpers, but I was tired. The headache was getting worse, and my family was here, whole and happy. I took another sip of water, not knowing I was swallowing down poison with it. That night, I couldn't sleep. The pain radiated from my temples down my neck, and the nausea hit in waves. I gave up at 2 a.m., went downstairs to my study, opened my laptop. Morrison Properties, employee files, the wellness program we'd started in March. I'd approved it without much thought. Annual health screenings, gym memberships, even DNA ancestry testing as a perk. Daniel had pitched it as good for morale, a way to show we cared about our people beyond their work. I scrolled through the program details, standard stuff mostly, but then I saw it, a line item I'd never noticed before. Database integration, Charleston Medical Analytics and Charleston Women's Health Network, $15,000. I stared at that line. Why would an employee wellness program integrate with a women's health clinic? Our staff was 60% male. I bookmarked the page, made a note to ask Daniel about it. But the headache was too intense, the room spinning slightly. I took one of the sleeping pills Dr. Anderson had prescribed and went back to bed. Sophia was curled on her side, one hand on her belly, peaceful in sleep. Beautiful. I kissed her forehead and closed my eyes, never imagining what tomorrow would reveal. Charleston Women's Health Center occupied a modern building downtown, all glass and clean lines. Sophia held my hand in the elevator, practically bouncing with excitement. I'm so glad you're here, she said. This is our moment, Will. Our family. Our moment. Our family. The ultrasound room was dim and clinical, the screen glowing blue as the technician, her name tag read Kelly, squeezed cold gel onto Sophia's rounded belly. I stood beside the bed, holding Sophia's hand, watching the grainy image flicker across the monitor. "There's the head," Kelly said, moving the transducer wand slowly. "And the heart, strong rhythm, 140 beats per minute. Everything's developing beautifully for 32 weeks. Sophia squeezed my hand, smiled up at me with tears in her eyes. I smiled back, trying to ignore the dull throb behind my temples that had become as constant as breathing. Then Kelly's hand stilled, her eyes fixed on a second monitor, not the ultrasound image, but a computer terminal. Something in her expression changed, just for a second, but I saw it. "Excuse me," she said, standing abruptly. "I need to get Dr. Sullivan. Standard protocol, nothing to worry about." She left before either of us could ask why. I watched her through the window, saw her hands shaking as she printed something at the nurse's station, not the ultrasound photos. "That's never a good sign, is it?" Sophia laughed nervously. "I'm sure everything's fine," I said, but my chest felt tight. 5 minutes crawled by. Sophia talked about nursery colors, about names. I watched the door and tried to remember how to breathe normally. Dr. Michael Sullivan entered, early 50s, silver hair, the kind of calm, authoritative presence that had delivered half of Charleston's babies over 30 years. He glanced at the ultrasound screen, then at the computer terminal, then at me, then at Sophia. "Mrs. Morrison," he said, "I have good news. The baby is perfectly healthy. Strong heartbeat, proper development, no concerns whatsoever." He paused, and in that pause, I felt the world shift. "But I do need to speak with your husband privately for a moment. Just some administrative matters regarding the prenatal screening panel." Sophia frowned. "Administrative matters? Now?" "It'll just take a minute." Dr. Sullivan's tone was gentle but absolute. He gestured toward the door. I followed him into a small consultation room down the hall. The door clicked shut behind us. "Mr. Morrison?" Dr. Sullivan's voice was quiet, professional. "As part of our standard prenatal care, we run a comprehensive screening panel. One component is paternity confirmation. It helps ensure accurate medical history for the child." He turned his computer screen toward me. "Your wife specifically requested this test on her intake form. She said it was for your peace of mind, given the age gap." I stared at the form. Sophia's signature, a checkbox marked. Why would she request that unless... The results came back this morning. The screen showed a lab report, bold letters across the top, paternity screening results. My eyes found the critical line. Biological father match identified in system. Name, Daniel Hayes. Probability 99. 94%. Reference sample. Morrison Properties. Employee Wellness Program. March 2025. The words blurred, refocused, blurred again. "That's..." My voice didn't sound like my own. "That's my son-in-law." "I know." Dr. Sullivan's voice was steady, but his eyes held something that looked like carefully controlled anger. "His DNA from your company's wellness program is in our shared database. The markers are a conclusive match." I gripped the edge of the desk. The room tilted. "Mr. Morrison, I have a legal and ethical obligation here, but I also have a daughter." He paused. "If I were in your position, I'd want to know first, privately. The way you react in the next 10 minutes will determine how this plays out." My mind raced. Daniel, the father. Which meant, how long? The baby would be born in 6 weeks. Work backward 9 months. November, October. The Columbia Real Estate Summit. November 14th through 16th. I'd been gone 3 days. Beth had driven to Atlanta that same weekend to visit her college roommate. Daniel had been in Charleston, alone. "Does Sophia know you've told me?" I asked. "No. These results were flagged for physician review only. I can tell you both together. Tell just her, or..." He stopped, meaningful. "I can go back in there and say everything's perfect. The choice is yours, but you need to decide now." I stood, legs unsteady. "Give me 2 minutes." The bathroom was down the hall. I locked myself inside, gripped the sink, stared at my reflection, pale face, trembling hands, the headaches, the nausea, the vitamins Sophia gave me every morning, 3 months of feeling like I was dying. If Daniel was the father, if they'd been having an affair. The vitamins. Dr. Anderson said stress, said I was overworking. But what if... I splashed cold water on my face, dried my hands, went back to Sullivan's office. "Tell us it's a healthy baby boy," I said. "Nothing else. I need time." Doctor sighed. Sullivan studied my face for a long moment. "Mr. Morrison, are you safe at home? If you need resources, domestic support services..." "I'm not in immediate danger, but I need to understand the full picture before I act." He nodded slowly. 48 hours. After that, I'm ethically bound to document this conversation. He handed me a card. "And Mr. Morrison, stop taking anything she gives you, anything." I walked back to the ultrasound room, smiled, kissed Sophia's forehead. "Everything okay?" she asked. "Perfect," I said. "It's a boy." She cried happy tears. I held her hand while Dr. Sullivan finished the scan, printed photos, offered congratulations. I drove us home, made lunch, admired paint swatches for the nursery. And when Sophia left for her prenatal yoga class that afternoon, I sat in my study staring at the ultrasound photo of a baby who wasn't mine. I called the one person I'd trusted for 30 years. "James," I said when my attorney answered, "I need to see you. Now." James Patterson's law office occupied a restored building on Broad Street. We'd known each other since law school, had built our careers in parallel, me in real estate, him in law. 30 years of business deals, golf games, and the kind of friendship that doesn't require pretense. He took one look at my face and closed his office door. "Will, you look terrible. What's going on?" I slid the DNA report across his desk, watched his expression change as he read. "Jesus Christ," he said quietly. "There's more. I think Sophia's poisoning me." James looked up sharply. "That's a serious accusation. Do you have evidence?" "Not yet, just instinct." I met his eyes. The same instinct that built Morrison Properties. He leaned forward, hands clasped. "Then we get evidence. But Will, if you're right about the poisoning, you can't go home. We call the police now." "And say what? That I feel sick? That my wife's having an affair?" I shook my head. "I need proof. Undeniable proof." "I know someone." James pulled out his phone. "Ryan Carter, ex-Charleston PD, ran major crimes for 12 years before going private. He's expensive, he's thorough, and he's discreet. Set it up. Today." James studied me. "Will, listen to me. If she's done this before, if there's a pattern, you need to be prepared for what we might find. This could destroy everything. Your marriage, your company's reputation, Beth's marriage." "My daughter deserves to know her husband's a traitor," I said, and my voice was steel. "I deserve to live, whatever it costs." Ryan Carter's office sat above a bookstore on Broad Street, accessible only by a narrow staircase that creaked under my feet. The man who answered my knock looked exactly like someone who'd spent 20 years dealing with Charleston's ugliest secrets. Late 40s, weathered face, eyes that missed nothing. He wore jeans and a button-down, no tie, competent hands that suggested he could still handle himself if needed. "Mr. Morrison." His handshake was firm. James called ahead. "Please, sit." His office was sparse. Desk, 2 chairs, filing cabinets, a wall of framed commendations from his police days. No wedding ring, no personal photos. A man who kept his distance from the mess he investigated. I told him everything. The DNA results, the affair, Daniel, the 3 months of illness that felt like slow death, the vitamins with the Morrison Properties logo. Ryan took notes in efficient shorthand, occasionally asking questions that showed he was already thinking 3 steps ahead. When I finished, he set down his pen and asked 3 questions. "How long have you been sick?" 3 months, maybe longer." "Where does your wife keep the vitamins she gives you?" "Bathroom cabinet. Medicine cabinet under the sink has a lock. Why?" "We're going to test them, privately, confidentially." He paused, studied me with those sharp eyes. Third question. What's your goal here? Divorce? Criminal prosecution? Public exposure? I thought about Sophia's hand on mine at dinner, Daniel's smile across the table, Beth's trust in her marriage, the baby that would be born in 6 weeks, innocent in all of this. I want the truth, I said. All of it. Who Sophia really is. How long Daniel's been. I couldn't finish. I want to know everything. Then I'll decide. Most men would want revenge. I'm not most men. I built an empire by making informed decisions. I met his eyes. This is no different. Ryan slid a contract across the desk. 20,000 retainer. I work fast, quiet, thorough. Daily reports. Nobody knows I'm investigating unless you want them to. I signed without hesitation. First priority, medical, Ryan said. I need samples of everything you ingest. Vitamins, food, drinks. We test for toxins. If she's poisoning you, we document it. He pulled out a field test kit, showed me how to use it. Second priority, surveillance. I track both of them starting tonight. Phone records, credit cards, hotel registries. If they're meeting, I photograph it. He leaned back, his expression grave. Mr. Morrison, in my experience, people who poison others slowly are patient, methodical. They plan exit strategies. If Sophia's doing this, she has a reason beyond the affair. We need to find out what that reason is before she succeeds. Then we'd better work fast, I said. 2 days later, Sophia announced she had prenatal yoga at 2 o'clock. I watched from my study window as Daniel's black Audi pulled up to collect her. Ryan's surveillance had confirmed this pattern. Daniel picked her up, they went somewhere together, returned 90 minutes later. My phone buzzed. Ryan's text, they're gone, moving in. I met him at the back door. We had 90 minutes. We document everything, Ryan said, pulling on latex gloves. He handed me a pair. Photos, timestamps, chain of custody. Anything we find has to be admissible in court. My own house felt foreign. Every room Sophia had touched now seemed contaminated, dangerous. We headed straight for the primary suite, her bathroom, her spaces. Ryan worked methodically. Medicine cabinet, regular items, vanity drawer, cosmetics. He pulled out a lockpick set, had the small cabinet under the sink open in 30 seconds. Inside, an amber prescription bottle. The label read, Vitamin B Complex, Morrison Properties Wellness Program, manufactured Charleston Nutrition Labs. It looked legitimate, professional, even had Dr. Anderson's name on it. Ryan pulled out his field test kit. This will tell us if there's anything besides B vitamins. He broke open one capsule carefully, applied the reagent to the powder inside. We both watched the test strip. It turned dark blue within seconds. Colchicine, Ryan said quietly. Positive. I stared at the bottle in his gloved hands. 3 months, every morning. Sophia smiling as she handed them to me, kissing my cheek, telling me she loved me. My hands shook. How much have I? We'll find out. Independent lab, full analysis. Ryan photographed the bottle from every angle, then returned it exactly where he'd found it. But Mr. Morrison, you stopped taking anything from her hands. Today, no excuses are worth dying for. He kept searching. Nightstand, locked, he picked it in seconds. Inside, a burner phone, encrypted. This'll take 5 minutes to copy, he said, connecting a data extraction device. Keep looking. I moved to the closet. Designer clothes, jewelry, all gifts from me. Everything she'd used to build her perfect disguise. At the back, beneath a stack of cashmere sweaters, I found it. A manila folder. Inside, life insurance documents. My signature at the bottom, except I'd never signed this version. Policy amount, $5 million. Beneficiary, Sophia Morrison. Date, January 2025. Ryan. He crossed the room, examined the documents. Forgery, he said flatly. She increased your policy without your knowledge, forged your signature. This is premeditated murder. Beneath the insurance papers, bank statements, Cayman Islands account, balance $143,000, and at the bottom, handwritten notes in Sophia's careful script. Timeline, baby due, late August. W needs 60 days post-birth, natural causes. Policy pays 90 days post-death transfer to Cayman. D handles new identities ready by November. I read the words aloud, my voice hollow. New identities ready by November. Ryan photographed everything. She's done this before. You don't plan identity switches unless you have experience. She was going to kill me after the baby was born. The reality settled over me like ice water. Collect $5 million, disappear with Daniel and my money. Ryan returned everything to its exact position. Sweaters stacked the same way. Folder in the same place. No trace we'd been there. "We have enough for attempted murder," he said as we left the bedroom. "We call Detective Walsh right now. This ends today." "No." I pulled off the gloves. "I want to know who she really is, how many others there were, every single detail." I met his eyes. "Then we take her down completely." That night, Sophia handed me a vitamin at dinner. "Your supplement, honey," she said, smiling. "You're looking so much better. I think they're really helping." I smiled back, took the capsule, pretended to swallow with a sip of water, palmed it instead. After dinner, I went to the bathroom and flushed it, watched it disappear down the drain. For the first time in 3 months, I went to bed knowing I wouldn't wake up weaker. Ryan's encrypted email arrived at 6 a.m. the next morning. I read it over coffee while Sophia slept upstairs, her hand resting on her belly, innocent in her dreams. Subject: Target status update. Wednesday, August 20th, 2025. 2:30 p.m. S. Morrison, Silver Mercedes, arrives Wentworth Mansion parking lot. 2:32 p.m. D. Hayes, Black Audi, arrives same location. 2:35 p.m. Subjects meet between vehicles, embrace, photo attached. 2:47 p.m. Enter hotel lobby holding hands, photo attached. 2:49 p.m. Elevator to floor 3, security footage attached. 2:52 p.m. Enter room 307. D. Hayes checked in 2:15 p.m. under company card. Room charge, Morrison Properties, Amex, $487. Coded as Client Entertainment, Harper Associates, 5:23 p.m. S. Morrison exits room, photo attached. 5:25 p.m. D. Hayes exits separately, photo attached. I opened the attachments with hands that had stopped shaking. I'd spent 2 days preparing myself for this, but seeing it was different. The first photo showed them between their cars, Sophia's hand on Daniel's chest, his fingers in her hair, despite her pregnant belly. Not a casual touch, the practiced intimacy of lovers. The elevator camera captured them pressed together, his hand cradling her face. The hallway footage showed Daniel opening room 307, Sophia entering first, the door closing behind them. 5:23 p.m. Sophia emerged, smoothing her dress, checking her phone. Daniel followed 2 minutes later, adjusting his tie. Yesterday. While I'd been at the Mount Pleasant site actually working, they'd been in room 307. I stared at the Amex statement Ryan had attached. Morrison Properties corporate card. Daniel's name. $487 charged as client entertainment. That was embezzlement, using company funds for personal expenses. A felony. My phone rang. "Ryan, you saw the report?" he asked. "I saw it." "That's the third meeting this week, Will. Wednesday at Wentworth, Monday at a West Ashley development site. Your property, that empty lot off Savannah Highway. Friday before that, same hotel." He paused. "This isn't over. It's ongoing." The nausea hit hard, but not from the colchicine. From the evidence that my son-in-law and my wife had built a relationship, a parallel life, while I'd signed insurance papers and swallowed poison. "There's something else," Ryan said. "I started the background check on Sophia. Will, we need to talk. In person." I told Beth at Waterfront Park, sitting on a bench overlooking Charleston Harbor. The late August sunshine felt obscene against what I was about to do to my daughter's life. "Dad, what's wrong?" She sat beside me, her therapist instincts immediately alert. "You sounded urgent on the phone." I handed her the DNA report first, watched her face, so like Catherine's, as she read, watched the color drain away. "This is Sophia's prenatal test," Her voice was very small. But it says, Daniel? 99.94% match. She stared at the harbor. I could see her mind working, calculating. The baby's due in 6 weeks. Gestation is 40 weeks. Conception would be... She closed her eyes. November. Early November. The Columbia Summit. I was gone the 14th through 16th. I was in Atlanta that weekend. Her voice had gone clinical, detached, her defense mechanism kicking in. Visiting Sarah, Daniel was alone in Charleston. I handed her the envelope of surveillance photos. She looked at the first one, the second, the third. The clinical mask shattered. We just bought a house, she whispered. We were going to start trying for a baby next month. I thought... Her voice broke. I pulled her close, let her cry into my shoulder the way she had when she was small and the world hurt her. Except this time, I couldn't fix it with ice cream in a Disney movie. This time, the world had broken something fundamental. How long have you known? She asked finally, pulling back. 3 days, since the ultrasound. I needed to be sure before I told you. And you didn't tell me immediately? There was no accusation in her voice, just understanding. I needed evidence you couldn't deny, because I knew... My voice caught. I knew this would destroy you. She was quiet for a long moment, staring out at the water. When she looked back at me, something had changed in her eyes. The softness had hardened into something sharp and clear. What do we do? Those 3 words. Not what should I do or I can't believe this. What do we do? My daughter, my brilliant, strong daughter, asking how we fight back. Ryan's still investigating. Sophia's using a stolen identity. The vitamins she's been giving me, they're poisoned with colchicine. I watched her process that. There's more here than just an affair, but we need them to think we don't know. Can I do that? She looked at her hands. Pretend everything's normal? Smile at the man who's been sleeping with my stepmother while planning a family with me? Can you? She wiped her eyes, straightened her shoulders. Yes, I can do that. She met my gaze. And Dad, when we're ready, when we have everything, we destroy them both. Ryan's office felt smaller that afternoon, the walls closing in as he spread documents across his desk like evidence at a crime scene. Sophia Morrison is a ghost, he said without preamble. I frowned. What does that mean? I mean, she didn't exist before 2019. No credit history, no employment records, no address history, no social media footprint. She appeared out of thin air. He slid over a death certificate, official seal of the Texas Department of State Health Services. Name, Sophia Ann Morrison. Born March 14, 1983. Died July 22, 2014. Cause, motor vehicle accident. Location, Austin, Texas. I stared at it, read it again. The words didn't make sense. This woman died 11 years ago, I said slowly. The real Sophia Morrison died at 31, only child, parents deceased in a drunk driving accident when she was in college, no close relatives, few friends. She worked as a graphic designer, kept to herself. Ryan pulled out more documents. Perfect target for identity theft. He showed me the paper trail, birth certificate, school records from Austin, college transcripts from UT Austin, then nothing. A complete stop at July 2014. 5 years later, Sophia Morrison reappears. New driver's license issued in Savannah 2019. Your wife's photo. A dead woman's name and social security number. The woman I'd married. The woman sleeping in my bed. The woman carrying a child she'd conceived in betrayal. She was someone else entirely. Who is she? My voice sounded distant. Her real name? That's what I'm working on. I found digital breadcrumbs linking back before 2019. A name keeps appearing, Michelle Torres. Similar age, similar appearance, but that could be another stolen identity. He leaned forward. Will, this level of sophistication, she's done this before, multiple times. You don't learn to forge documents and steal identities this cleanly without practice. I thought about the charity auction where we'd met in November 2020. How she'd told me she was new to Charleston, fresh start after a bad breakup in Atlanta. How perfectly she'd fit into my life, my home, my bed still cold from Catherine's absence. She targeted me, I said, researched me, knew about my money, my recent widowhood. Professional con artists do exactly that. They identify wealthy widowers, create perfect personas, exploit grief and loneliness. Ryan's voice was matter-of-fact, not unkind. You checked every box: rich, recently widowed, respected in the community, trusting. And I made it easy for her. Don't blame yourself. These people are experts at manipulation. He paused. But here's what bothers me. She didn't just marry you and drain bank accounts. She's poisoning you slowly. That's high risk, time-consuming. There has to be a reason. The $5 million life insurance. Right. But why not divorce you and take a settlement? Community property, she'd walk away with millions. Why risk a murder charge? Before I could answer, his phone rang. He glanced at the screen, answered. Carter. He listened, his expression darkening. You're certain? Send me everything. He hung up and looked at me with something like pity. Will, we found a match. Your wife, whoever she is, was married before. His name was Richard Foster, commercial real estate developer in Austin, Texas. He paused. He died in 2013, and according to his sister, whom my contact just spoke with, he died under very suspicious circumstances. Ryan opened a new file, spread more documents across his desk. Richard Foster, age 56 when he died, net worth $7.2 million. He slid across a photo. The man in the picture had kind eyes and gray at his temples. He looked like I might in a few years. The resemblance was unsettling. Tell me, I said. He married Linda Bowman in January 2011. They met at a charity function in Austin, 6 months after his wife died of cancer. Linda told him she was an interior designer, new to the city after a divorce. The same story, I said. Almost word for word. Exactly. Within a year, Richard started getting sick. Headaches, nausea, joint pain, extreme fatigue. His doctor said stress, ordered standard blood work, came back normal. Prescribed anxiety medication. My hand went involuntarily to my temple. How did he die? February 2013, cardiac arrest, acute organ failure. Linda had him cremated within 48 hours. No autopsy, no second opinion, no chance for anyone to question the diagnosis. Ryan pulled out more documents. Life insurance, $4 million to Linda. Richard's sister Catherine contested, claimed undue influence. Linda eventually settled for $2.8 million and disappeared. Catherine's been searching for her ever since. Does she know about me? She's been waiting 12 years for someone to believe her. She wants to talk to you, now. Ryan hit speakerphone, dialed. It rang twice. Mr. Morrison? A woman's voice, Texas accent, exhausted and angry. This is Catherine Foster. Yes, I'm here. I'm so sorry this is happening to you, but I'm also grateful because finally, someone else sees what I saw. What happened to your brother? Her voice broke slightly. Richard called me 2 weeks before he died, said he felt like he was dying. I begged him to go to the hospital. Linda convinced him it was just stress, that he was overreacting. Silence on the line. Then, Mr. Morrison, does your wife give you vitamins? Cold swept through me. Yes. Richard took vitamins every morning. Linda insisted. After he died, I spent my own money to have the bottle tested. It was clean. She'd replaced whatever she'd been giving him. Her voice hardened with 12 years of frustrated grief. Don't take anything she gives you. Not food, not drinks, nothing. And for God's sake, don't let her cremate you. Did you ever find out Linda's real name? I asked. No. After the settlement, she vanished completely. I hired 3 different investigators. Found nothing. It's like she became someone else. A bitter laugh. Of course she did. That's what she does. becomes whoever she needs to be, takes what she wants and moves on. I'm not going to let her move on from this, I said. Good. Because my brother deserves justice. And Mr. Morrison, if you can prove what she did to Richard, I'll testify. I'll do whatever it takes. After the call ended, Ryan and I sat in silence. We need toxicology screening on you, Ryan said finally. Today. Complete workup, confidential lab. And if they find colchicine, then we have evidence she's done this before. Pattern of behavior, premeditation, that turns attempted murder into capital murder. I looked at Richard Foster's photo again. A man who'd trusted the wrong person, who'd died believing he was loved. I'm not dying, I said. I'm taking her down. Dr. Helen Brooks was a toxicologist, former medical examiner with a private diagnostics practice. Ryan had vouched for her discretion. She reviewed my blood work on her computer screen, her expression grave. Mr. Morrison, you have colchicine in your system. Significant levels. This is not accidental exposure. How much? Based on your blood levels and the symptom timeline you described, I'd estimate 2 to 3 milligrams daily for approximately 12 to 14 weeks. She turned her screen toward me, showed me a chart. Therapeutic dose for gout is 0.6 milligrams as needed. You've been receiving 4 to 5 times that amount daily. Consistently. What would have happened if I'd continued? Dr. Brooks's voice was clinical but compassionate. Colchicine accumulates in tissues. Early symptoms, which you experienced, include headache, nausea, fatigue, joint pain. As levels build, kidney damage, liver stress, bone marrow suppression. She showed me a progression chart. In another 4 to 6 weeks, you would have experienced multi-organ failure, most likely presenting as a cardiac event, heart attack or stroke. Death would appear completely natural, especially in a 57-year-old man under business stress. The same as Richard Foster, Ryan said from his position by the window. Dr. Brooks nodded. Classic colchicine poisoning masquerading as natural causes. It's historically been used in criminal cases because it's difficult to detect post-mortem, especially if the body is cremated quickly. Can you treat it? I asked. Yes, you stopped ingestion in time. We start chelation therapy immediately. Medications to bind and remove the colchicine. Aggressive hydration, careful organ monitoring. She leaned forward. Your kidneys are stressed but functional. Liver enzymes elevated but not critical. Mr. Morrison, you're fortunate to be here. Another month and we'd be looking at irreversible damage. How long before I need to start treatment? You should start today. She paused, reading my expression. But if you're asking how long you could safely wait, 7 to 10 days maximum. Beyond that, you're risking permanent damage. I looked at Ryan. 10 days. The Charleston Preservation Society Gala is in 10 days. Will, that's theater, not justice. That's Charleston, I said, and it's what they deserve. The War Council met in Ryan's office. Me, Ryan, James Patterson, and Beth. Evidence covered every surface. Surveillance photos, toxicology reports, forged insurance documents, bank statements, Catherine Foster's testimony transcript. James, ever the attorney, cut straight to it. This is enough, more than enough. We go to Detective Walsh today. Attempted murder, conspiracy, fraud, embezzlement? No, Beth said quietly. We all looked at her. If we go to police now, it becomes a private takedown. Daniel gets a plea deal, walks out in 5 years. Sophia gets quietly arrested. I become that poor woman whose husband cheated in every Charleston society column. She met my eyes. They tried to destroy us in the dark. We destroy them in the light. What are you proposing? James asked. Public exposure, complete and total. The affair, the poisoning, the stolen identity, Richard Foster, everything. All at once, in front of everyone who matters. That's risky, James said. If they get any warning, they won't. Beth's voice was steady. I've been having dinner with them 3 times a week, smiling, laughing, acting like nothing's wrong. Daniel thinks everything's perfect. She looked at me. The Preservation Society Gala, 200 people, witnesses, cameras, social media. We expose them there, and Charleston Society does the rest. They'll be pariahs, unemployable. Destroyed. Ryan pulled out a floor plan of Hibernian Hall. You're scheduled to speak at 9 p.m. thanking donors. That's when you do it. I nodded slowly. I give my speech. Then I reveal everything. Ryan, you control the AV system. Put the evidence on the screens, every photo, every document. I'll coordinate with Detective Walsh, James said. The warrants need to be ironclad. We document everything properly. Beth pointed to the floor plan. Where do I sit? Here near the exit, Ryan said. When Will makes the announcement, security escorts you out. You don't stay for... No. Beth's voice was steel. I stay. I want Daniel to see my face when he realizes we know everything. I've earned that. I reached across and squeezed her hand. My daughter. My fierce, brilliant daughter. 7 days, Ryan said. I need to finalize Catherine Foster's statement, compile the final evidence package, and brief Walsh's team. 7 days, I agreed. We stick to normal routines. Nobody suspects anything. The next week was the longest of my life. Family dinners where I watched Beth perform brilliance, smiling at Daniel, touching his hand, asking about his day. Where Sophia brought me food and I ate it, knowing she was saving the poison for the vitamins I no longer took. Honey, how was your day? Beth asked Daniel on Tuesday night. Good. Closed the King Street development permits. Your dad's going to be pleased. He touched her hand. She smiled. Inside, she was screaming. I knew because I was screaming too. Surveillance continued. Ryan sent daily updates. Wednesday, Wentworth Mansion again, 2 hours. Friday, West Ashley site, 90 minutes. They were meeting at my own properties, using my company credit cards. Laughing probably at how easy it was to fool the old man. On day 5, Catherine Foster flew in from Austin. We met at Ryan's office. She looked at Sophia's photo for a long moment. That's her, older, but that's the woman who killed my brother. You're certain? I'll never forget her face. She cried at Richard's funeral. Perfect tears, perfect performance. She looked at me. Mr. Morrison, don't let her cry her way out of this. Don't let her play victim. She's a predator. Day 7, Ryan showed me the final presentation. Slides organized for maximum impact, DNA results, surveillance photos, hotel charges, death certificate, Richard Foster's case, toxicology report, forged documents, Cayman account, handwritten notes, arrest warrants. This will destroy them, I said, staring at the screen. That's the point. Day 9, James briefed Detective Sarah Walsh. The warrants were signed. Morrison, Walsh said, are you certain about the public exposure? We could arrest them quietly, avoid the media circus. No, they tried to destroy me quietly. I'm destroying them loudly. Day 10 arrived. The morning of the gala, I woke before dawn, watched the sun rise over Charleston Harbor from my study window. Last day, living this lie. Tonight, everything changed. Sophia came downstairs in her robe, glowing with pregnancy, smiling. Big night, she said, kissing my cheek. I wish I could be there. Promise you'll tell me everything? I promise, I said. I was going to tell her everything all right, just not the way she expected. At 2 a.m. on the morning of the gala, I woke to Sophia shaking my shoulder. Will, the baby, it's coming. I sat up, groggy. What? You're not due for 6 weeks. Contractions. She gasped, gripping her belly. 5 minutes apart. We need to go, now. My mind raced. The gala was tonight. The exposure was planned. Detective Walsh was ready. Ryan had the presentation loaded. And now? Okay, stay calm. I'll get the car. MUSC maternity ward at 2:30 a.m. was quiet, efficient, surreal. Labor progressed fast, too fast for a first-time mother, the nurses said, but premature babies sometimes came quickly. Sophia gripped my hand through contractions, her face pale. I'm scared, she said between gasps. You're strong. We're almost there. Inside, my thoughts were chaos. Is she faking this? Did she somehow know? Or is this just terrible timing? Dr. Sullivan appeared, the same doctor who'd revealed the DNA truth 3 weeks ago. He caught my eye, a slight nod of understanding. 6 hours of labor. Sophia insisted I stay in the delivery room. I need you here. I can't do this without you. So I stayed. Held her hand, counted breaths, watched monitors, and thought about the innocent child about to be born into this web of lies. At 8:47 a.m., a baby boy entered the world. 7 pounds, 3 ounces. Healthy lungs. His cry filled the room immediately. The nurse cleaned him, wrapped him in a blue blanket, placed him in Sophia's arms. "He's beautiful," Sophia whispered through tears. "Will, look at him." I looked at the child, saw Daniel in the shape of his eyes, the set of his mouth, but also saw an innocent life. "He's perfect," I said, and meant it. Whatever else happened, this baby deserved a chance. "What should we name him?" Sophia asked. "Let's wait. Make sure you're both healthy first." Dr. Sullivan caught my eye again. Slight nod. Buy time. At 10:30, Beth and Daniel arrived. I'd called them per protocol, the dutiful grandfather announcing the early arrival. "Congratulations!" Daniel embraced me with practiced warmth. "This is incredible." I wanted to strangle him. Instead, I smiled and led them to the room. Beth hugged Sophia, cooed over the baby. Her performance was flawless. Only I could see the tremor in her hands as she held the child her husband had conceived with her stepmother. "Can I hold him?" Daniel asked, the biological father holding his son for the first time, unable to claim him. Daniel's voice cracked as he looked down at the tiny face. "He's amazing. You guys are so lucky." Beth stood beside her husband, watching. Composed, strong, magnificent. After 15 minutes, I cleared my throat. "Sophia needs rest. Baby needs monitoring. Doctor says at least 48 hours observation for premature birth." Sophia's face fell. "But the gala is tonight. I wanted—" "Your health is more important. The gala will happen without us." I turned to Daniel. "You'll still go, right? Represent the family?" "Of course, absolutely." "Perfect." In the hospital parking lot, I called an emergency conference with Ryan, James, and Beth. "Change of plans," I said. "Sophia's in the hospital with the baby. We can't expose her tonight." "Do we postpone?" Ryan asked. "No." Beth's voice was steel. "We do it without her. Daniel tonight, Sophia tomorrow." James processed quickly. 2 separate takedowns. Exactly. Daniel gets exposed publicly at the gala. Sophia gets arrested tomorrow at the hospital for attempted murder, conspiracy, everything. "It might actually be better," Beth said, her psychologist brain analyzing. "Daniel will be isolated, unprepared. No chance to coordinate with Sophia." Ryan was already on his laptop. "I can modify the presentation. Focus on Daniel's crimes, with Sophia as co-conspirator. Full evidence against her comes out during tomorrow's arrest." 7 hours until the gala, I said. "Everyone clear?" They were. Hibernian Hall glowed in the early evening light, Charleston's historic gem, transformed for the Preservation Society's most important night of the year. Crystal chandeliers, silk table linens, magnolia centerpieces. 200 guests in evening wear, champagne catching the light. I arrived alone at 7:30, my excuse well rehearsed. "Baby came early, 32 weeks, mother and child doing well, but doctor wants careful monitoring. Sophia's heartbroken to miss this." Mrs. Constance Sheffield, doyenne of Charleston Society, clasped my hands. "Oh, Will, how wonderful. Congratulations. You must be exhausted." "Happy exhausted," I said, smiling. The lie came easily now. Beth and Daniel arrived at 7:45. She wore navy blue, elegant and composed. Daniel's hand rested at the small of her back as they entered. The perfect couple. Daniel found me near the bar. "Hey, Dad, how's Sophia? She's not answering texts." "She's resting. Doctor's orders. She and the baby need monitoring." Something flickered in Daniel's eyes. Tension. "That's good. Really good." He scanned the ballroom, and I saw it. The slight unease. Something felt off to him, but he couldn't identify what. Cocktail hour flowed into dinner. I sat at the head table with the mayor, the Preservation Society president, James Patterson. Beth and Daniel were 3 tables away. close enough for me to see, far enough for positioning. I watched my daughter perform, laughing at something Mrs. Patterson said, touching Daniel's hand, playing her role to perfection: she crab soup, shrimp and grits, pecan tart, Charleston's finest. I tasted none of it. Ryan was in the AV booth on the second-floor balcony. He caught my eye. Thumbs up, ready. Detective Walsh was outside with 4 officers, warrants signed. At 9 p.m., the society president stood and tapped her glass. Thank you all for being here tonight. Before we conclude, I'd like to invite our most generous sponsor, Mr. William Morrison, to say a few words. Polite applause, expectant faces. I stood, buttoned my jacket, walked to the podium. 200 faces turned toward me. Friends, colleagues, people who'd known me for 30 years. They smiled, waiting. They had no idea. I gripped the podium, looked out at the sea of faces. Mrs. Sheffield in the 3rd row, the mayor at the head table, Daniel 3 tables back, his expression guarded, Beth beside him, hands folded, perfectly still, Ryan's silhouette in the AV booth, Detective Walsh's team outside. Good evening, I said, my voice clear and strong. Thank you for being here. I paused, let the room settle into complete silence. I want to talk about trust. What it means to build something, to believe in someone, to invest in a future together. Attentive faces. They thought this was about historic preservation, and what it means when that trust is broken. Murmurs. This wasn't the speech they'd expected. 5 years ago, I remarried. Sophia brought light back into my life after Catherine's death. I paused. Or so I thought. Last night she gave birth to a baby boy, my son, I believed. The room tensed. This was getting personal. But 3 weeks ago, I received DNA test results from the prenatal screening. I nodded to Ryan. First slide, please. The 3 massive screens behind me lit up. Paternity test results. Biological father, Daniel Hayes. Probability 99.94%. Gasps rippled through the ballroom. Phones emerged from purses and pockets. Daniel shot to his feet. This is insane. Sit down, Daniel. My voice cut through the rising noise. I'm not finished. Beth's hand on his arm pulled him back down. Her face was unreadable. The affair has been ongoing for over a year. The slides advanced. Surveillance photos filled the screens. Daniel and Sophia between their cars, his hand in her hair, kissing at Wentworth Mansion entrance, hotel elevator, bodies pressed together, room 307 door closing behind them. Timestamps: November 14th, 2024, May 18th, 2025, August 20th, 2025. The ballroom erupted in whispers, gasps, the sound of chairs scraping as people stood for better views. But that's only the beginning. Next slides. Bank statements. Amex charges. Daniel has embezzled over $120,000 from Morrison Properties. Hotel rooms, dinners, all charged as client entertainment, all fraudulent. Daniel's face had gone white. Dad, I can explain. Can you explain the Harper family from Atlanta, the clients you claim to be courting? I let that hang. I contacted them. They've never heard from you. New slide. A death certificate. Sophia Ann Morrison. Born March 14, 1983. Died July 22, 2014. The room went completely silent. The woman I married stole the identity of someone who died 11 years ago. Her real name is Michelle Torres. She's a professional con artist who's used multiple identities. Next slide. Richard Foster's photo and obituary. She was previously married to Richard Foster, a real estate developer in Austin, Texas. He died in 2013, cardiac arrest, multi-organ failure, cremated within 48 hours. I paused. His symptoms: headaches, nausea, fatigue, the same symptoms I've been experiencing for 3 months. Mrs. Sheffield was crying openly now. For 3 months, Sophia has been giving me capsules she called vitamins. They contained colchicine, a poison that mimics natural illness and causes organ failure and death. The toxicology report filled the screens. She planned to kill me, collect $5 million in forged life insurance, the forged documents appeared, and disappear with Daniel and the money. Final slide. Sophia's handwritten notes. Timeline: baby due, late August. WF needs 60 days post-birth policy. Pays 90 days post-death. New identities ready by November. The room exploded. Voices, flashes from phones, people standing, crying, shouting. The doors opened. Detective Walsh entered with 4 uniformed officers. "Daniel Hayes, you're under arrest for embezzlement, conspiracy to commit murder, and fraud." Daniel tried to run. Officers were on him in seconds. "Hands behind your back." The click of handcuffs echoed in the sudden silence. Beth, please." Daniel's voice cracked. Beth stood. Someone handed her a microphone. The room fell silent, 200 people watching. "Daniel." Her voice was clear, unwavering. "I loved you. I trusted you. I wanted a family with you." She paused, and in that pause, I'd never been prouder of my daughter. "You destroyed that. I'm filing for divorce tomorrow, and I thank God we never had children together." The room burst into applause. Officers led Daniel out in handcuffs. As he passed me, he looked up, not with anger, but with something like defeat. "I'm sorry," he whispered. I said nothing. At 9:47 p.m., Sophia sat propped in her hospital bed, baby sleeping in the bassinet beside her. She scrolled through her phone, responding to friends asking about the baby with happy emojis and photos. Next year, she thought, with $5 million, I'll be at every event I want. A knock at the door. She looked up, expecting a nurse. 2 uniformed officers entered. Detective Walsh behind them. Her smile froze. "What's going on? Is something wrong?" "Sophia Morrison, or whatever your real name is, you're under arrest." "Arrest? For what?" "Attempted murder, conspiracy, identity theft, forgery, fraud." Officers approached with handcuffs. "This is insane. I just had a baby. You can't—" Walsh held up his phone, showing video of my speech at the gala. "Your co-conspirator just exposed everything at Hibernian Hall, in front of 200 people. The affair with Daniel Hayes, the embezzlement, the fact that you're not Sophia Morrison. She died in 2014. Richard Foster, the colchicine poisoning." He paused. "It's over." For a moment, Sophia said nothing. Then her face changed. Shock dissolved into cold, calculated fury. "I want a lawyer." "You'll get one." Officers cuffed her wrists. As they let her out, she glanced once at the baby. "What about my son?" "Hospital Social Services has custody until family court determines placement. He'll be safe." They led her down the hallway. Nurses and staff watched, some filming on phones. Sophia kept her head high, even now performing. But inside, rage. Because she'd almost had it. Almost had $5 million and a new life. Almost. I sat on my back porch at sunrise, coffee in hand, watching light spread over Charleston Harbor. My phone had been buzzing all night. News alerts, messages, calls from friends. The headlines were everywhere. Charleston mogul exposes wife's murder plot at charity gala. Real estate executive uncovers elaborate con, attempted poisoning. Society stunned. Beloved wife, actually identity thief, alleged serial killer. Beth arrived, sat beside me in Catherine's old chair. Long silence, just us and the sunrise. "How are you feeling?" she asked finally. "Empty, relieved, angry, grateful." I paused. Alive. The story's gone viral. Ryan says every major network wants an interview. Let them wait. I sipped my coffee. "What about the baby?" "Social services called. Asked about placement." Beth was quiet a moment. "I was thinking, Catherine Foster? Richard's sister? She understands the situation. She's been alone since he died." "That feels right," I said. "Redemption for Richard in a way." "I'll reach out to her." 6 months later. The trials were swift by Charleston standards. Daniel Hayes pleaded guilty to embezzlement and conspiracy. 12 years, eligible for parole after 8. His parents issued a statement disowning him publicly. Sophia, Michelle Torres, was tried in both South Carolina and Texas. South Carolina, guilty of attempted murder, identity theft, fraud, life without parole. Texas, guilty of murdering Richard Foster. Exhumation had confirmed colchicine in his remains. Second life sentence. She showed no emotion as the verdicts were read, cold to the very end. The baby was adopted by Catherine Foster, renamed Richard Foster II. At the finalization hearing, Catherine took my hand. Richard would have wanted this. This child gets a fresh start, a family that will love him for who he is, not what he represents. My health fully recovered. Dr. Brooks confirmed no permanent organ damage. I'd stopped the poison just in time. I established the Catherine Morrison Fund for Elder Protection and Domestic Violence Prevention. Our first grant, a training program for doctors to recognize coercive control and poisoning patterns. Beth returned to her therapy practice, now specializing in betrayal trauma. Helping others heal helps me heal, she told me over Sunday brunch, our new tradition. And I met someone, Jennifer, a curator at the Charleston Museum. Coffee turned into dinner, dinner into weekends together. Take it slow, Dad, Beth said, smiling, but I'm happy for you. On a cool November afternoon, I visited Catherine's grave. Sat on the bench under the magnolia tree we'd planted together. I'm okay now, Catherine, I said quietly. I think you'd be proud of how Beth and I fought back, how we protected each other. The wind rustled through the leaves. I miss you every day, but I'm finally ready to live again. I stood, took one last look at the headstone, then walked toward my car. Toward the future, toward life. I'd been poisoned, betrayed, and nearly murdered, but I'd survived. And survival, I'd learned, was just the beginning.